Good morning. This is Dave Jones with StormCenter Communications and GeoCollaborate. We've been monitoring Hurricane Milton overnight and into this morning, and we've been watching a really interesting thing happening, which happens very often in very intense hurricanes, and that is an eye wall replacement cycle. I'll talk about that here in just a second. This update is being provided based on the 11 a.m. National Hurricane Center advisory on this Tuesday, October 8th, 2024. It's about 10 minutes after 11 this morning. I'm going to make this brief update. I have to go down to University of Maryland, College Park, to provide a lecture and presentation on how we can better partner with communities, help them be more resilient through the use of trusted data. Well, Hurricane Milton is spinning and spinning rapidly. It is still a Category 4 hurricane, but it really didn't weaken that much when it went through its eye wall replacement cycle. Satellite imagery really tells an interesting tale. We do have a lot going on here, and I want to widen out a little bit here. You can see just off the right-hand side, that's Tropical Storm Leslie spinning with 70-mile-per-hour winds. We don't have to worry about Leslie at all, but we do have to worry about Milton. Milton could be one of the most impactful hurricanes to ever hit the mid-coast of western Florida. This could have lasting damage and implications after this storm makes landfall, and everyone should take this storm very seriously. Now, I want to show what's going on as far as the satellite picture. I'll bring this full screen here so you can see what's going on. There is Milton right here, winds of 150 miles per hour. I'll put up the stats here. You can see Leslie over there on the right-hand side. The latest information from the Hurricane Center, 11 a.m., it's 520 miles southwest of Tampa, Florida. The max winds have gone up a little bit from the previous advisory, 150 miles per hour, moving to the east-northeast at 9 miles per hour with a central pressure of 929 millibars. It's been pretty incredible the last 12 to 18 hours watching the pinhole eye of Milton contract so much that it then developed an outer eye. It's called an eye wall replacement. I'll get a little bit closer here to show you what it looks like this morning on the high resolution GOES satellite imagery. This is an image we're getting in every 1 minute from the mesoscale sector of this GOES satellite. This is advanced technology we have up there. NOAA operates the satellite. We can focus in on 2 different weather areas and get imagery every minute. If we use both of these sectors, mesoscale sectors, and focus in on the same place, we can get 30-second imagery. This is helping researchers really understand how we can learn more about using satellites and warning people in the future about the developments of these monster storms. But you can see what's going on here. Look at that spin and see these bubbles popping up around the eye. That is the eye wall, and this is the most intense part of the hurricane. There is a central dense overcast in the eye. You can see there, it's not really, you can't really see clearly down to the ocean, but you can see all these things going on to the east. Look, here's Cuba. Let me get the stats out of the way here. Here is Cuba, and you can see these thunderstorms racing across and just following the circulation, outer circulation, and a lot of thunderstorms happening even to the north. Look at all these thunderstorms. This is where tropical storm and hurricane force winds could be brought down by heavy rain showers, and that is what's going on there. Now, the northern peninsula of the Yucatan is getting some heavy rain and some very strong gusty winds. Like in Merida, they're getting some heavy rain showers and also gusty winds of tropical storm force. So it looks like they are having impacts there. But one thing I do want to show is NOAA launched another satellite, the next satellite in the last satellite in the GOES-R series, and it's now come online with some imagery that's not operational. But we're going to show you an image here from this GOES 19 satellite. Look at this. This is a satellite that's basically over top. It's over the equator, about over the center part of the country. So we get a more top-down look at this storm. Look at this, and you can see all of these bubbles here in the atmosphere, which are strong thunderstorms going on. Here is the northern tip of the Yucatan. This particular landmass is not really impacting the hurricane much. This one is a very, very small island out in the Gulf of Mexico, but you can see the details in this imagery. It's quite impressive. And I also want to show you from my colleague, Dr. Brian McNulty. I wanted to show you what it looks like. Whoops, let me take this a little bit more full screen here. This is the radar data from northern Mexico, from Asaba. This is going through yesterday evening into this morning, and you can see distinctly the eye of Milton, and it is taken now a more north. So little wobbles, you can see those wobbles in the eye, but it's now taken a more east-northeasterly turn. So it's starting that turn towards the United States, and that is something that we don't like to see, but we certainly understand. And let me show you once again the broader picture from where Helene is, and you can see that stream of moisture coming off. The stream of moisture coming off Milton right here and going across the central part of Florida. This is about the track that the storm is going to take. It's going to come up here, and then it will take a turn and then go right through the central part of Florida. There's strong high pressure up here. That's why the skies are clear. Thankfully, those who are responding to recovery and response from Hurricane Helene are enjoying at least some sunny weather. There are some slight little showers popping up in western South Carolina, but primarily it's been dry and will be dry for a while. This storm is not going to impact the state of Georgia. It's going to come directly across the state of Florida and have huge impacts. So what I want to do now is to show you GeoCollaborate, because in GeoCollaborate, I've put on the sandwich product, and that sandwich product is showing some very enhanced thunderstorms around this center. Look at that. These waves coming out, gravity waves coming out of the storm. When you have intense thunderstorms within a hurricane, you can see waves propagating out because it's putting so much force on the atmosphere. It's like dropping a stone in water, and you can see waves coming out of this storm. They're called gravity waves, and they do propagate out. They don't cause any particular damage. It's just something that we can see in satellite imagery. But look at this. It was a Category 5 down here, went through eye wall replacement. The eye became larger, so it's a much larger eye now, and now we're going to see the wind field expand. As the storm starts moving to the east-northeast and then takes a more direct turn towards Florida, then we are going to see more a broader wind field from the tropical storm. Now look at all these thunderstorms that are popping up ahead of this as well. I can back out a little bit here. This particular sandwich product, I've zoomed right in on the hurricane, so the imagery ends over here. That's okay. That's normal. But you can see the Hurricane Center forecast. This is the updated 11 o'clock forecast and where it has it going. Now remember, we have pay attention to the cone. The only reason I have the center line on here is so I can click on some of the intensity forecasts at this particular period. So even though this moves just a little bit back and forth, this is the area that is going to be highly impacted by the storm. Even outside of the cone, there's going to be huge storm surges down towards Naples. And we're talking about a 10 to 15 foot storm surge in the Tampa Bay area. That is going to be devastating. So I'm going to turn off this layer of the satellite image so we can talk about some other things here. I'll turn that off, and I want to turn on the radius of maximum winds. We talked about this yesterday, Got a lot of good feedback from folks saying that that's really an incredible product to see the size of the hurricane. And I'm going to turn on that wind radii forecast again, just so you can see. And I want to spend just a minute on this because look how small right now the radius of maximum winds are with the compact hurricane. But the wind field is expanding because it went through its eye wall replacement cycle. It's going to spread out. Also, the storm is going to be starting to transition somewhat to an extratropical cyclone. It's still going to be a hurricane, but just meteorologically, it's going to transition to an extratropical cyclone because it's going to get into wind shear, and it's going to get into some interaction with some frontal system and things like that. So basically what that means, though, is the wind field expands. And the wind field tends to expand anyway on a hurricane as it gets further north in latitude. But look at how large the wind field is here when it makes landfall around the Tampa Bay area versus where it is right now. So just think about this. If you have a small area and you're trying to move water and push it around, that's kind of a smaller-ish area. But when you expand the wind field, look how much water you're pushing with that expanded wind field. That is why we have such a large storm surge probability and storm surge warnings on the west coast of Florida. And the wind field is going to extend across the entire state. Let me zoom in here to the state of Florida, and we'll put on the wind fields here. You can see very dangerous hurricane force winds will engulf the entire Tampa, St. Petersburg area, even down towards Sarasota and Bradenton and a bit further south in this storm. Winds are forecast to be about 125 miles per hour at landfall. That's a Category 3 storm. However, look, when it's right here, and this is a 36-hour forecast now, valid at 7 o'clock Central Time, so that's 8 o'clock Eastern Time tomorrow. 8 o'clock Eastern Time tomorrow, the winds will be 125 miles per hour with wind gusts to 155 miles per hour. And so between then and over Florida, look at this. This is the, I just noticed something. I want to turn off the wind field and turn that back on because I think there's a little bit of a disconnect with the data feed, and I want to just update it and make sure that this is the latest feed. I'm going to turn off the, the wind radii forecast and then turn that back on to refresh it. There we go. There we go. That is the updated wind field forecast from the 11 o'clock advisory. See, now the points are lined up with the center part of the storm. So I want to point out here, this is 125 mile per hour storm, Category 3, forecast to come ashore in Tampa, probably between 8 o'clock and 11 o'clock tomorrow night. And look at the hurricane force, or this is storm force winds of 50 knots already reaching on shore by 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow. When it's inland, look at this. When the storm is just south of Orlando, we're talking about a wind speed of 100 mile per hour storm. And let me see if I can get that here. So 100 miles per hour, okay, in this hurricane in central Florida. 100 miles per hour. That's going to cause damage. And look how wide. This is the hurricane force winds in this area, but this is 50 mile per hour to 73 mile per hour winds in this area right here. So we're talking about well into tropical storm force, almost hurricane force winds with hurricane force wind gusts in Orlando. And then as the storm emerges off the coast, the back end of the storm is going to cause storm surge in this part of the coastline across Georgia and Florida. So there will be impacts in places like the Palm Coast. Daytona Beach will have very strong winds and heavy rains. And one thing I also wanted to mention, in the right quadrant, in the right quadrant of a storm, you have an enhanced chance of tornadoes. So there is an enhanced chance of tornadoes around central Florida during the time of landfall and as it traverses the state. So that is something they develop quickly. They move quickly. There's not much you can do about a tornado that's embedded inside of a hurricane and spiral bands. Just try to pay attention to your local broadcast meteorologist or the National Weather Service if you have a NOAA weather radio that you can power either by cranking it or through batteries. That is a great resource. Now, I've talked about how large the wind field is, and you can see it here. This is no joke, folks. This is a big storm, and it's going to be coming ashore around the Tampa, St. Pete area, Bradenton, Sarasota, and it's going to drive a huge storm surge. So I'm going to turn off the wind field forecast, the wind radii forecast. And let me do that here. There we go. I just turned that off, and I want to turn on the arrival of tropical storm force winds. This is when they're expected to arrive. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to keep everything else off so I can keep this very simple here. Imagine the tropical storm force winds heading towards the coast. Here's where they'll be Wednesday at 8 a.m. That's tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. So just maybe coming into the dry Tortugas, feeling some tropical storm force winds. By 8 p.m. on Wednesday, tomorrow night, tropical storm force winds will already be moving ashore from Clearwater down to Tampa, St. Pete, and across all of southwest Florida. That's winds of 39 to 73 miles per hour. 39 to 73 miles per hour, tropical storm force wind. And then they will move across the state all overnight. So 8 p.m., 9, 10, 11, 12, 1 a.m. So by 1 a.m. or so, they'll be reaching places like Melbourne, Palm Bay, Port St. Lucie, West Palm Beach. Tropical storm force winds will arrive. But that's just the beginning of the intense storm that is going to be coming through Tampa and St. Petersburg. The National Hurricane Center said it, and I agree 100% that this storm has the potential to be one of the most destructive hurricanes on record for West Central Florida. One of the most destructive hurricanes on record for West Central Florida. If you're watching in the west coast of Florida, or in any area that's expected to be impacted, please leave. Particularly if you're in the coastal area, evacuate now. You have today. Gas is being distributed to gas stations. FEMA has authorized the delivery of 1 million gallons of diesel fuel and 1 million gallons of gasoline into gas stations. It's happening now. Trucks are filling back up gas stations. You can find gas and get out of there. You do not want to be in the path of a Category 3 hurricane that's making a landfall perpendicular to the coast. So now what I want to talk about here is the storm surge a little bit more. That storm surge is visualized through a model called the ADCIRC. And that's what I want to show here now just for a second. So this ADCIRC model is from the Coastal Emergency Risk Assessment folks in North Carolina. And I'm going to zoom in here because this particular forecast is a forecast for the Advisory 13, which was just issued from the National Hurricane Center. And this is just giving you a little visual as to where the largest surges are going to be. Now, the Hurricane Center is the official forecast. and the surge of 10 to 15 feet in Tampa Bay, which is going to be devastating. As the storm makes landfall, because you have a huge circulation here, this model is showing devastating storm surges also in this area from Holmes Beach to Bradenton Beach, Longboat Key, Siesta Key, which was terribly hit by the storm surge from Hurricane Helene. This is going to be hit even harder, much harder than the storm surge from Helene. Osprey, Nokomis, Venice, South Venice, Inglewood, all the way down here, including Port Charlotte, Punta Gorda. Those areas, Boca Grande, are going to have very large storm surges. And I know those of you that are watching towards Fort Myers and Fort Myers Beach, Cape Coral, Sanibel Island, Captiva, that were very hard hit by Ian several years ago, you are going to get some major storm surge as well. Could be 6 to 8 feet of storm surge. Now, if we go back to GeoCollaborate, I do want to point out the storm surge from the National Hurricane Center, and I'm going to zoom down in here as well for the official forecast of the storm surge. Now, this is down towards Naples. This area is a 4 to 7 foot storm surge forecast from Bonita Springs, excuse me, down past Naples. That's 4 to 7 feet. Now, as we move up a little bit further to the north, we're talking about Cape Coral, also talking about Port Charlotte, Punta Gorda. This area is likely to see a storm surge of 6 to 10 feet. 6 to 10 feet of storm surge. That is not survivable if you stay in your coastal home. Evacuate from those areas. There are evacuation orders that have been issued. Please listen to them, and there's public transportation available as well. Now going up towards Tampa, and here, Sarasota County and Manatee County, we're talking about storm surges of 10 to 15 feet. That will inundate all of these barrier islands. They will be inundated with ocean water, with water from the Gulf of Mexico. That is not survivable. We had 12 people that were killed in Pinellas County here, where Clearwater is, because they stayed even with the Hurricane Helene passing offshore with storm surge warnings. There are storm surge warnings all up and down the coast here. And in Tampa Bay, we're talking about a 10 to 15 foot storm surge. So this track is going to vary slightly with Hurricane Center updates. Don't pay attention to the center track. That is something that is going to be adjusted slightly by the National Weather Service. This is a huge storm, up towards Homosassa Springs, a 5 to 10 foot storm surge. That's north of Clearwater to Homosassa Springs, a 5 to 10 foot storm surge. So please pay attention to your local authorities. They know what they're talking about. This is a big storm, and it's going to have big impacts. And I did just have one thing that I wanted to show here today, and that is I've heard quite a lot about categories, and I had to address a couple of videos ago the whole Indian burial mound thing will protect us. That is not true, and there's no evidence to show that that is true for research that we've done in an upcoming book that's going to be published here in the next couple weeks. But the Saffir-Simpson scale has been around for a long time. This is how we categorize hurricanes based on their wind speed. And this is what it looks like. A CAT4, 74 to 95 miles per hour. And I've listed here the damage expectations. Milton is expected to make landfall as a Category 3 hurricane. And you can see there winds between 111 and 129 miles per hour, with higher gusts to 150 miles per hour in those wind gusts are possible. That is results typically in devastating damage. That is why the National Hurricane Center is saying that Milton could be one of the most devastating hurricanes to hit the west coast of Florida and the west central coast of Florida. Category 4, 130 to 156 mile per hour sustained winds, not wind gusts, but sustained winds, results in catastrophic damage. We saw that in the path that Helene left by. That wasn't solely wind, it was also rain and flooding that resulted up in Georgia and North Carolina and South Carolina, eastern Tennessee. And CAT4 is the worst. Any winds above 157 miles per hour, 157 and above, is considered a Category 5 hurricane. Right now, Milton has winds of 150 miles per hour. That's a high-end Category 4 hurricane. Let me make this very clear. There's no such thing as a Category 6 hurricane. There's no such thing as a Category 7 hurricane. It stops at Category 5. Catastrophic damage results from a Category 5 hurricane. Now, one of the things that researchers are doing in the meteorological community and the weather enterprise is we're looking at how we might redefine the categorization of hurricanes and base it not solely on wind, but base it on storm surge and also other factors. How much impact will this hurricane have when it impacts people, when it makes landfall? So that's ongoing research. As of today, this is the category that we go by, the Saffir-Simpson wind scale. It's not based on anything else but the wind. The central pressure is something else that we watch, and there's general central pressures that hurricanes take when they have certain wind speeds, but that too depends on the size of the hurricane. And I'll just leave it at this, that Hurricane Milton is a serious, significant, dangerous, catastrophic hurricane. You do not want to be in the path of this storm. It will flood everything on the coastline, and it will have winds that will cause tremendous damage. Expect power outages to extend for at least a week. And some of the power crews and linemen are staging right now, thousands of them are ready to get into the area to start restoring power. And disaster responders are already getting ready to respond as well. So thank you for watching this video update. We'll do a little bit more detail later on this evening when I get back and put some more things together. But thank you for watching this update. We really appreciate it. This is for the All Hazards Consortium, the sensitive information sharing environment, where we share information across platforms and across sectors: the food, fuel, communication, medical supply, logistics sectors, and also with emergency operations centers in the states and the state private sector liaisons. It's really important that we share information across those platforms. We use GeoCollaborate to do that, and we also use other means. So thank you so much for watching. We'll be back later this afternoon with another update. Please take care of yourself and take care of your neighbors.